Youniverse brings to you a new series, 3 things you need to know today. And it's all about how real beings do well-being. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of 3 Things You Need to Know Today. When the series started, we wanted people to know the real side of well-being. And what more than knowing about the real people who are actually real caregivers in the real world, where we actually have so much to learn from them. One of these people today who we have here is Miss Meghna, and she is the Director of Relations at Harmony House. In fact, not just that, she has also started at the mere age of 25 when the corporate world was booming for her. She chose to switch from the corporate world to the non-profit world. Harmony House is a non-profit organization which works solely for welfare in any kind, from nutrition to houses that have been burnt, to families in dire need, to education. They do it all. They've together impacted 650 students in their lives. They were also actively involved in 2020 giving care packages. And while the government schools were shut all throughout India, Delhi, Gurgaon, these people made sure that the students were educated, the students got food to eat. They made sure people sustained to the toughest of phases. And I think that's the biggest form of well-being that we can do for people. So welcome, Miss Meghna. How are you today?
And thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. It really means a lot.
I think moving on to the first question that we have for you. Why are you in this job and what do you enjoy the most about it? Like, what do you take back with you in terms of your well-being?
So for me, and actually I can speak for my entire team, the best part for us is seeing those happy faces enter our centers every morning at 9:30 a.m. sharp, happily, without having to be forced. Coming from underprivileged backgrounds where their houses, like, the slums around us are so small. They're like 8 by 8 feet, 10 by 10 feet. So they're coming from that kind of a background where they don't even have the basic necessities, yet they come happily. They want to get educated. They want to make a difference in their lives. So it's a very important part for us because that is our source of motivation and inspiration. And we want to work harder and harder to ensure that, we can help them achieve what they are willing to go the extra mile for.
I think that's definitely there. And what you said, helping people out, I think that's the biggest win. And how does it add to your well-being? If you could elaborate on that, like how does helping others help you?
Sorry, can you briefly? It's important for us to acknowledge the fact that, there are people who are born into a situation or into a life which they have not chosen. It's for no fault of theirs. And the fact that we do have even it doesn't mean privilege is not only being rich, even something like having an education, an ID card, for example, like our children, many of them can't get into a school because they don't have basic documentation. They're born at home, most of them, right? So they don't have a birth certificate, they don't have an Aadhaar card. So something like a basic identification card, which can get you access to facilities, basic facilities. So that is something which they lack. So just realizing that fact and, doing your bit to help or to bridge that gap as much as possible. That is something which is very important for us to understand.
It's definitely a very, very big point. It's such a stark contrast if you actually think about it. Thank you for actually putting that thought in our brains. It's definitely a big one. So moving on to the second question, how do you think our education system can include well-being in the curriculum for the youth? And how can we practice well-being with the youth? Since you guys work with so much education and so many kids work with you and learn with you.
So yes, it is extremely important. It goes without saying that I'll start that again. Okay. So for the education system to include well-being, yes, it's extremely important. And we do acknowledge that fact and we do practice it. So we start our day by, some meditation, yoga. A moment for gratitude is dedicated every day at the beginning of the day, and at the all of our supporters are organic. It's not been any advertisements because we've never honestly had funds for those kind of things. So all of our supporters, and they've had genuine one-on-one experiences. They've come to the center, they've met the children, and our children have been in that sense fortunate enough to meet so many people, to experience that love. So they do realize that the importance, and I have seen them passing it on. So one of our ex-student, Premchand, he passed out like 3 years back. He was with us for 8 years. He did his 12th, and then he started working in these small, electronic shops. And he's now got 3 or 4 of his own tiny mobile repair workshop. He's bought a house of his own. Every time he every time he goes to the village, he'll take like a bag full of goodies, of bags, school bags, notebooks, toys, and stuff for the children in his village. And that is something that's because he has experienced that gratitude, that support coming from somebody else. So apart from his hard work, it is the support of people around us which uplift us. And passing on the kindness is what he has taken out of this entire experience, which it's a validation for us.
If we are just able to scratch the surface with what you guys have actually done, it's immense. Like I don't even think we can scratch the surface. Like I think just by changing that boy's attitude towards life, you've impacted 1,000 more lives.
Yeah.
That's very, very big. Moving on to the third question, you also mentioned how at the age of 25, you had a career shift where you went into sudden non-profit organization. What happened in your childhood? What was it like to influence such a choice of career?
See, living here in India, as you know, it's for all of us. I'm not special. We've grown up in a place where there's such stark difference in the different kind high rises with the most expenses of apartments, and you'll see big bungalows with luxurious cars, and just right behind, joining the same wall, you will find like a huge slum area where people don't even have the basic necessities. Like how can you cannot ignore something like that, right? And as a child, you get these questions that why is that child on the street trying, asking for money, and why is this? But as you grow, you understand. But those are the things which they've always left an impression in my mind. And if I am in a position where I can use my skills or my time to somehow bridge the gap, even if obviously I can't change the world, that's crazy. But if we do not do anything thinking that we cannot change the world, then nothing is going to happen. You have to do your bit. Everybody has to do their bit, right? In whatever capacity you can. And it doesn't have to be financially all the time. You can just share your knowledge, share your kindness, tell them, make them aware of the different options that are for them. They don't even have have access to information. So how are they going to make the correct choices? So there, yeah, so a lot goes on.
I love what you said, because you said it's not just the access to money, the nutrition, the education. It is the access to information that is lacking, which is the main barrier. And I think we all associate nonprofits with donations, with giving, with a lot of selfless work. We don't realize it takes information first, and then all these things come secondary. You have to have the heart to give information. I think that's very big of what you said. Do you think that wellness and wealth and the privileged, and is it equal? Like, is it important and equal?
See, I would say it is definitely equal for privileged, underprivileged, 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 60-year-old. That goes without saying. It is equal. How they practice it, or how it's inculcated in their thought process and their mind and heart, is something which I think it's the external factors which are also, they play a major role. Our families, the institution, the schools that we go to, the kind of adults that we are interacting with, what is the kind of values.
You to give so much energy, to give so much information, to give so much support to an underprivileged society that we also have in our country. So I think that's very big. To end it, I'd like to ask you to share how people can connect with Harmony House. I myself have done work with them, and I'm very, very fortunate to do that. Very fortunate to meet those kids. And I think, is there any way we can connect?
So our website is accessible. It's www.harmonyhouseindia.org. Our email ID is info@harmonyhouseindia.org. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter by Harmony House India. So we can be connected via any of these lines.
And is there any form of wellness, donation, anything that we can do? Simplest form, if you'd like to leave the audience with something, anything that we can do that Meghna would say as HH, Harmony House.
I would invite everybody, come see the work we're doing, and then you take it forward the way you feel best.
Wow. Thank you, Miss Meghna, and see you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.